Hi, it's Josh, and I'm doing a video. I've had so many people asking me, when are you going to do a video? Please do a video. I'm sorry I haven't been doing them much lately. I don't know, I just don't have my sort of groove for video making lately. They seem to take more effort, and my words don't flow as well, and I'm not sure why. But anyway, maybe I'm just moving on. But I haven't done one in a really long time. It might be over a year. And in that year, I've really changed my system a lot. So last summer, in the summer of 2017, I took on some new things that I was doing that suddenly my life had a lot more meetings and appointments in it. It was just, my schedule was getting really crazy, and so much of it was coming to me electronically. It was all this sort of Outlook meeting invites and Outlook invitations and all this stuff coming in all the time. And everyone at work uses Outlook, and everybody wants me to be on Outlook, and I was sort of trying to loosely maintain Outlook along with my paper system. But anyway, long story short, I decided to give it a go. And so I started using Outlook exclusively, and did so for several months. It actually worked surprisingly well, and not perfectly, but decently. I find for managing my schedule is quite convenient in a lot of ways, and it was not as good at all for managing sort of tasks and projects and things like that. So, and it also, of course, is not convenient at all for capturing all the sort of stray things that come at me all day long. There's a lot of those. That's what I've always found paper really helpful for, that I can just scribble out a quick note. Somebody asks me a question, I don't have time to deal with it right now, I can just write it down, get to it later. And I'm not going to sit there and like punch it into my phone. And if I don't write it down somewhere, I'm going to forget about it immediately. So, what I started doing, and Patty Gardner and wrote about this on her Homemaker's Daily blog a few years ago, which unfortunately is no longer on the web, so I can't point you to it, but she had described, per my request, if I recall correctly, she had described that she had used a stenographer's notebook and would just write down everything that was coming at her all day, and as she either completed it or processed it into her Outlook tasks, she would cross it off. And then when a whole page had been processed, she would just put a line through it so you could see at a glance that this whole page is done. And I started doing that, and that was actually working really well for a while until I got lazy with it, and suddenly I had pages and pages and pages of stuff that some of it was done, some of it was not done, and going through all of it to either put it all into Outlook or OneNote or Do It or whatever I needed to do with it was starting to take a lot of time because I just had procrastinated on it. And I also found that in using Outlook and a steno book, I didn't have anywhere to kind of sit down and sketch out a plan for the day, and I find that to be... I really started to miss that. I think that it's really important for your perspective. It's so easy to just be sort of in reaction mode all day long that you just... Your Outlook dings at you that there's a meeting, and you go to the meeting. You come out of the meeting, and something dings at you that you have to do it, and you go do it, and somebody comes and asks you a question, and you take care of it. The phone rings, you answer it, and you're just always reacting to the things around you. And that sort of works okay, and you can keep yourself really busy, but projects that you're working on can really, I found for me, were really falling apart because I was missing those sort of cognitive steps of following up, that making sure that if I contact somebody to ask them about a project that I'm working on today and I need something from them to continue, in paper I would flip a week or a few weeks or a couple of days or whatever was appropriate and just make a quick note to follow up. Of course you can do that in a digital system, but I wasn't doing it. It's not... it didn't feel like it wasn't as easy to do, and there wasn't an obvious place to put those things. Like, do you make a reminder? Do you Do you put in an all-day appointment? How do you handle those in a way that you're actually going to see them? I mean, I know that you can use Outlook tasks to start it here and end it and finish it there, and it'll sit in your list in the meantime. But there wasn't anything that was sort of queuing me up to revisit this at appropriate intervals. And also sort of just work management habits that I've developed started to fall apart. I'd always had a habit of, if I was putting a file away, making a note somewhere in my calendar when to open it up again. I wasn't doing that anymore, which is not ideal, because that is, again, how you start to lose track of things that may not be urgent, but they're still important and need to be done. And you just sort of forget about them for months on end until something reminds you, and you really should have looked at it sooner. So, anyway, I've talked a lot. So, I was using the Steno book and the Outlook, and it was working basically, it felt like it was working fine. And I went on a 3-week vacation to Latin America over Christmas until mid-January, which was wonderful. And one of the great things about it was that it gave me some time to think. For this vacation, I brought my filofax. I always had my filofax with me because it has so much reference information in it. But I brought it with me and was sort of sketching out my plans for the day and what I did for each day while I was on vacation. And I was realizing that I really had that, I've been keeping on top of kind of the most visible things that needed to get done, but I'd lost track of a lot over those 6 months that I was in digital only. And I wanted to sort of claw back some of my focus that I used to put into my system, and I really felt like going back onto paper, really getting myself back onto paper was the best way to do that. And so I set myself back up in my filofax. So I don't even know if I've shown this on a video. This is a vendor spec that I had made. It's denim croco finish on the outside, and they're 180 red calf leather on the inside. It's got 30mm golden rings. It has 2 pen loops all up. I use a pencil now. I carry a pen in this all the time, but I don't actually use it very often at all. I probably could have gotten away with 1 pen loop, but it's always nice to have the option. And it's basically set up the same way that I've set these up for years. I have all of my reference information in the front, and then I have my daytimer, day on 2 pages diary, and then I did have week on 2 pages for the rest of the year, but I took that out recently. And basically the way that this is working now, if you remember from any of my other videos, for many years now, I've kind of settled loosely on a system where I keep the current week in day on 2 pages from daytimer, and then I do all my future planning on week on 2 pages from filofax, just the standard thing, that the week on 2 pages with lines. And I've been doing that for a long time, but like I said, my schedule now is really pretty crazy, and keeping it in paper wasn't working as well. And so what I found that I'm doing is basically I'm treating my Outlook calendar like how I used to treat my week on 2 pages diary. It's where I park all of my appointments, go on there, and certainly all my appointments looking forward go on there. So I just went to the dentist today, and my dental follow-up appointment in 6 months went into Outlook. It used to go into my weekly pages. But I took the weekly pages out, and I just have daily I have about a month's worth of daily pages looking forward in here. Not because I actually am filling them in, but just they're there, so if I want to flip and look at them or write a quick reminder on one of them, I can do that. But more critically, I have, on Sunday, I sit down, look over last week's pages really carefully, find anything that was not done, decide if I still need to do it or not. If I do, I assign it to a day on the approaching week. I put in all of my appointments, I put in all of the other tasks that I know that I need to do for the coming week, and so I end up with basically a daily plan. I have some tasks that I need to do. I sort of sketch out my day. I have another side, the other side for notes or overflow, things that I want to think about, tasks that I want to work on but are not critical to, like, it's not critical that they get done that particular day, reminders, all that kind of stuff. And I just have this out in front of me pretty much all day. I don't carry it with me everywhere like I used to. I carry it with me most of the time. I'm saying a lot for some reason. Anyway, it's working. It's working really well, and I love this binder. It's fantastic. I don't know why. I would like to use my red Winchester, but I find having 30mm rings is really helpful, and I do have a 5/4 Winchester, but I somehow love this a little bit more, so I don't use it very often. So anyway, so that's my update. This is where I'm at. I'm sorry it's taking me so long between videos, but this is just not, I don't know, the magic isn't there anymore. But I did want to kind of give an update, explain what's going on, and I think that in a lot of ways it's been a lot of learning for me, and I think it's been valuable learning that I'm finding the way that I'm sort of using a hybrid digital and paper system now is working pretty well for me, and better than I would have thought it would. So, anyway, any questions, put them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them, and otherwise I'll talk to you at some point in the future. Take care.